Hello pattern lovers, welcome to yet another exciting tutorial, and today's video will be a detailed tutorial on how to go about a tube bustier. So this is a detailed tutorial on how to go about a strapless bustier, the A to Z tips and tricks. So if you want to know how to cut your tube bustier, kindly watch this video to the very end, and let's get right into it. The first thing I did was to mark a straight line across the pattern paper. Then I'm going to start from that point, which will serve as the shoulder line. I'll start from that point and go down to the bust point, which is 10 inches, under bust 14 inches, waistline 17 inches. Then I will count 6 inches from the 17 inches, and that would be the blouse length. Go ahead and do any length of choice, but anything between 6 to 8 inches is okay. I will mark the same thing on this other end just to have a straight line. Then I'm going to connect the points like so. And after that, I will try to create a block for this front part. So I just marked 12 inches and then roll it out like that. So we have our bust point, under bust, waistline, and then the blouse length. I'll start from this shoulder line here and get the shoulder measurement divided by 2, and from that point I'll go down to the armhole length of 8.5. The shoulder is 15 inches, armhole length 8.5. Then I will just roll it out like so. Make sure you have a straight line at this point. Next, I will mark out the standard neckline of 3 inches by 3, but I'll just mark 3 inches on this point just to get the shoulder slope. Then I'm doing a shoulder slope of 1.25. I usually do 1.5, but for this tutorial I'm just going to do 1.25, right? Then I'll connect the shoulder slope like that. Next, I'll go ahead and take the bust measurement divided by 4 plus ½ inch for ease. Then on the waistline, I'm going to take the waist measurement divided by 4 plus, I'll be using 1.5 as the dart, and that's the allowance I added there. Then on the blouse length, I'm going to take the upper hip measurement divided by 4, yeah, and then I'll mark it there. So I'll just go ahead and connect the points, and you can see how I'm placing this curve. Done with that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to take the bust span measurement, and the bust span is 3.75. So that's a 7.5. 7.5, when you divide it by 2, it will give you 3.75, and that's what I'm marking here. Then on both sides of the bust span line, I'm going to mark 0.75, which is 1.5, and that's the exact measurement I added to the waistline. Then I'm going to pivot it from the waist to the top like this, and after that I'll do the same thing to meet the blouse length. Extend the dart legs to meet the blouse length. Now I'm going to do the bust dart, and I'm using 1.5, which is the difference between the front and back length. The front length is 23 inches while the back length is 21.5, and I'm using the difference as the bust dart. Now on this existing dart legs, I'm going to add ½ inch on both sides. Okay, so by the time I measure it, I have 2 inches. Before now, I already know that I usually use 2 inches to tighten the underbust, but I just wanted to show you how to go about it. When you draft your pattern the first time this way, you measure what you have as the underbust tightening, and then you continue with that instead of having plenty lines. But if that would confuse you, just go ahead and do your dart first. Then on both sides, you're going to use ½ inch to tighten the underbust. Right? So I'm going to curve from that ½ inch. Now I cleaned off the previous dart lines that I have there. I'm going to curve it to the bust point, going to the bust point just like this. And after that, I'm going to use this part of this curve to extend the dart legs to the waistline. I'll do the same thing for this other side, and that's it for that. The next thing I will do now is to get the over bust line, and to do that, you can decide to come up 3 inches or 3.5, or from your armhole line, you just come up 1.5, whichever one works for you, but 3 inches or 3.5 works just fine. So I'm coming up here 3.5, and I'll just go ahead and roll it out, and that would serve as the over bust line. Now to extend the dart to that line, I'm going to measure from the shoulder tip to the neck tip and divide whatever I have there into two. Then I'm going to connect from that point to the bust point line. That's bust span line. Then I'll go ahead to tighten the over bust. You can decide to do 0.75 on both sides or 1 inch on both sides, or better still, just mark 1 inch on both sides of this line, this shoulder line here, 1 inch. Then you're going to connect it from that point to the bust point like this. Then after that, you now go out half inch on this existing line here. You go in half inch on that side and half inch on this side. By the time you measure it, you see that it's either 0.75 or 1 inch. That way the over bust won't be too tightened and it will just be perfect. So I'll go ahead and connect it to the bust point. Make sure that this particular over bust line is not too curvy. You can actually just connect it straight. From that you're tightening to the bust point, but make sure it's not too curvy. Now I'm going to just blend this to meet the armhole line. I'll show you how to do it the proper way. Okay, so just going to curve it like this. Now if you want to get it accurate, you're going to divide whatever you have from the shoulder slope to the armhole line, divide it by 2, and I have mine here. Then you're going to come in half inch on that point. Just tighten the chest line. Okay, just do the regular way you do your armhole, curve it like that. Then you're now going to blend from this point to meet this armhole line. That way it's very accurate and perfect. You can also come down half inch from your armhole line and blend it to that point. That way it would sit better on your armpit and more comfortable. Now I'm going to do the neckline and I'm coming up 1.5 from the bust point, right? You can also start from the shoulder line to go down to how deep you want the neckline to be, but 1.5 from the bust point works for me. And to connect it proper, I'm going to measure through the dart. I'm going to measure the side like this and use that same value to make sure that I have that same value on this center front here. Then when I get it, I'm going to make sure I have the same value I used to tighten the over bust on that point too. Okay, then you're going to extend that line there straight. And now I'm going to give it a sweetheart shape. Go ahead and give it any neckline shape that you want, V or round, but make sure you throw the darts before that so that you won't have any shortage by the time you want to join the side front to the center front. You can also try to close the dart, so that you can blend it, but this way gives the same result. This part is totally optional. You can decide to measure the dart that you took out here and then replace it on the side if you want, but this is a tube dress and you want it as firm as possible on your bust area. So you're going to measure your bust again and then add that same value, but I just added like half inch just to be on a safe side. So by the time I close the dart, I'm going to blend it in from that point to the waistline. Now if you look at the picture on the thumbnail, you see that it has style lines. Okay, if you want to do that, you're going to do it the same way. Measure what you have on the waistline after the dart, and then you're going to do the same thing on the hem, right? And you're going to just connect it straight. You can also decide to just connect it from the under bust, or better still, make it lesser than what you have on the waistline, but I just want it this way. Then I'll come to the bust point and go in 3.5. Remember, sizes are different, okay? So your size might be bigger than this and you might need to just do 4 inches. Then I'll go to the hem. From the dart legs, I will also mark the 3.5, then connect it like this. This is if you have a flat tummy, because you can see the dart that will be cutting out, but I'll still be showing you how to do it in case you have a lower tummy that you want to create some ease for. All right, so if you want to add strap, you're going to do it the same way. The strap actually is going to start from the side, side front, the dart on the side. You're going to start on that point. You're just going to connect a straight line from that point to the shoulder line, the shoulder slope line like this. Then you're going to mark the width of the strap. It's usually a half inch or even less than. So I'll clean up this one so that you see what I have there. So that would be your strap, and it's going to be firm on your body because you already have your shoulder slope on that point. When we get to the back, I'll also be showing you how to do the back part. So like I said before, in case you have a lower tummy that you want to create some ease for and you don't want to cut this much, that what you're going to do is to connect from this point, this waist point, to the hem and give like 0.25 space, just so there is no too much excess on that point. Clean up the unwanted part. Then you're going to start from this new line here and mark the same 3.5, the same thing you have on the bust line. Then you're going to connect it from that bust to this new 3.5. But if you have a flat tummy, go for the previous line that we have there, so that it will be just perfect on your body. Having done all of that, we'll move over to the back, and after that we'll come back for the front. So I'm going to start from this shoulder line and go down to 21.5, which I said is the back length. The difference is 1.5, right? So the front is 23 inches while the back is 21.5. So I'll go ahead and mark it like this and roll it out. Now the back neckline is just going to start from the front armhole. Wherever your front armhole is, that's where the back neckline is going to start. But I'm just going to do the shoulder measurement and the armhole measurement, just so we know what we are doing. All right, so I'll get the shoulder measurement divided by 2 and go down to the armhole length. I'll do the same standard neckline measurement of 3 by 3. I just marked 3 as the width and then 2 inches as the depth. We are not using the neckline. I just want to use it to get the shoulder slope and then the center back contouring. So I'll measure from the top line again and go down to the waistline of 15.5. The front is 17 inches while the back is 15.5. I'll mark it on both sides and then mark it across just like this. And that would be the waistline, and the other one the blouse length. Okay, so to contour the center back, I'm going to come in by 1 inch. You can do ½ inch or 0.75 depending on how deep your back is. All right, so I'm going to use 1 inch, and then I'm going to use this curve to connect it from that point to that neck depth. Then I'll use this straight part of the curve to connect it from the waistline to the hem. Then I'm going to start from this new line to take the bust span for the dart. Then I'll measure from the original center back line, whatever I have there, just to have a straight line. All right, it's not complicated. Make sure you have a straight line for your dart. Then for the dart length, from the waistline up, I measured 6 inches. Now on both sides of the bust span line, I'm going to mark ½ inch. Then I'm going to connect it up like this. Just slope it to the up like this. And that's the dart for the back. Can you see that shape? For the bust measurement, I'm going to start from this center back contour line and get the bust measurement divided by 4 on the waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 1 inch we used for that. Then I'm going to connect from just connect the 3 points like that. The curve placement is very important, just so it follows your body structure or your body shape. So I'm going to measure what I have from the shoulder line to the armhole line, and then I'm going to add like 2 or 3 inches to that, depending on how deep you want your back neckline. Depending on how deep you want it to be on your back, you're going to go down to that point. Then you're going to connect it like this. Okay, give it any shape you want. If you just want it straight, just mark it straight across. It's not that serious. Now looking at the pattern, there's a situation going on here which we don't want. It's going to create unnecessary excess or ease at the back. We'll come back to that, but for now we are going to take out the excess here on the dart area. I'm going to mark 0.25 on both sides of the dart line, or you can just connect what you have on the waist up like that, just so it's very firm on your body. All right, go ahead and do the same thing on the down part. Have like a ½ inch space from the previous dart line that you have there, just this same shape you see me have here. And you're going to come in from this point like half inch. Ignore whatever you see me do here. Just go ahead and go in by half inch, just so it's very firm on your body. And also try to replace the dart you took out on the hem part. All right, place your curve like this to get that shape. Well done so far. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and follow the same shape I have on the center back and add my zipper allowance. For your zipper allowance, anything between half inch to 1 inch is very okay, but you don't want to have bulge at your back. Do not go beyond 1 inch for your zipper allowance. So I'm going to follow the same curve I have there just to get the zipper allowance. And that's it. It's not that hard. So we have the front and back ready. You can see that the center back and the side back is looking like the same. Just go ahead and label it like this: side back, center back, and then indicate the part that is going to the up. Okay, so if you want to add strap again, I promise to show you how to go about it. For the back, you're going to start from this your dart line and mark a straight line to the shoulder slope, and then the half inch or the strap width that you so desire, but it's usually half inch or less most times. Then I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So when you cut out the strap, you're going to join it to the front. Just tape it together and cut it out on your fabric. You don't have to cut it separate, but make sure you indicate the part that's going to the front and the part that is going to the back for the strap, I mean. So go ahead and cut out your pattern like this, keep it aside, and then we'll go over to the front. To cut the front, I'm going to slash the dart line to the bust point, but before that, I'm going to make sure I have my actual circumference on this hem part. I'm going to measure it this way, and then I have about 0.25 shortage, which I'm just going to replace now. I'm going to place my curve like this and curve it out. Then I'll go ahead and slit this dart line so that I can be able to close the bust dart. I'm going to fold the bust dart from the down and place it on the bust point line like this. So I'll place it like that, and then I'm going to tape it down with this tape like this. It's as simple as that. Now I will blend in the side seam line like this. Just blend from the bust to the waist. Then I'll go ahead and continue cutting. If you don't want your blouse just straight like that, just go up on the side about 1 inch and then curve it to the bust span line. All right, just go ahead and give it any curve that you want, but it's okay like this also. So I'll go ahead and cut. By the time I want to cut the style line, I'm going to also blend this in just so I have something smooth on that point. Then I'll go ahead and cut it out, and that's it. After cutting out your pattern, do well to cross check to make sure you're not having any excess or any shortage on any point. Then you're now going to go ahead and transfer this to your fabric. Add your necessary allowance, half-inch joining allowance all around, and then your desired side seam allowance on this side. And now you can see that the front waistline and then the back waistline is now equal. All right, cross check your pattern, add the necessary allowance on your fabric, cut it out, and happy sewing. So here comes the end of our tutorial today. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this and if you'd like me to draft any other style, and I will respond to you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.